bright sunshiny day, and I have a huge landmark right in front of me. It is Mount Rainier. You can't miss this thing. But in a survival situation, odds are you may not have anything around you that you can use to orient yourself. So you need to know how to determine direction. And in this video, we're going to demonstrate how to use the shadow stick method so you can determine north and get out to wherever you're trying to get to. All right, so welcome to the channel, friends. As always, it is great to have you back here today. So it is a beautiful, sunshiny day, man. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's probably the best day we've had all year. It's about 77 degrees, and the sun is shining down bright. And I thought, you know, what better day to come out here and show you all how to use the shadow tip method. As we work through this, we'll talk about when to use it, where it works, where it doesn't work, and some other considerations that you can put into your kit bag. So shadow tip method, man, it's really old, been around a long time. It's an ancient, primitive method of determining true north. Now, on that note, true north, magnetic north are two different things. We're assuming here that you don't have a compass, and that's why you need to determine direction. And in a survival situation, sometimes, you know, that's all that you need. You just need to be able to determine a cardinal direction, because you know that when you're driving down the highway before you got off on the trail, that highway was to the south of that trailhead. And you know, man, if I just move south, I'm gonna pick up this linear feature, this road, and I'll be able to make it back to the car or find some help. And so check this out. This happens all the time, even in small parks like Capitol State Forest, which is right here close to home in Olympia. Almost every single year, somebody gets lost and dies in Capitol State Forest. And man, you would think that it's not that large of a forest. So most people, I think, have it in their heads that the people who are off getting lost are in these huge wilderness areas, and they're out for days. They're beyond all touch. No one knows how to reach them. They don't know how to do anything. But if you look at hikers who get lost in places like Hawaii, you know, just a small island, or those who get lost in small parks, these are normally the day hikers, right? We know this from statistics. But we know that a lot of times what happens is people end up just moving around in circles because they don't understand and have a true sense of direction. But if they had something that they could throw into their kit bag and know that if they just moved north, or if they just moved south, or if they just moved west or east, that they're going to find a known linear feature. Maybe it was that highway that they drove in on and they moved out from the trail on a trailhead from there. All right, so there may be a lot of variables in a lot of these cases, but one thing is for sure, most of them would be easily preventable and or manageable should somebody just have the bearing without them to understand and know direction so they can move out from where they're at. So in this video, that's exactly what we're going to do. So the first thing that we need the sun. But actually, a little known hint, the moon, when it is full and on a clear day and it's casting enough light back down on Earth to create a shadow, you can do the same method or the same technique, because they both travel from east to west. So we do need some sun, we need some shadow. We really want a clear, open, flat space, and we'll see if we can't move around. We'll find something to use here. While most of this is clear enough, it's not generally flat enough. And what you want to try to avoid are shadows hitting dips and then causing, you want to take all the variables out that you can. That's the biggest point. And then we're going to need a couple sticks. I'm going to find a stick that's maybe 3 foot long, and then I'll find a shorter stick, and I'm going to find some other sticks. You could use some rocks for some of it, but I'll show you why I don't recommend using rocks. Like a lot of the old manuals used to say. And that, you know, that's pretty much it. And then time. And the reason that time is important, more than just letting the system work and letting the shadow stick method work, it's giving you time intentionally. Man, you're having to sit there and wait. And this is one of the reasons why this is a really good technique to use or to have in your kit bag, because if you become disoriented, if you become lost and you don't know what to do, the most common phenomenon after that is anxiety, and it's panic. And so we start making decisions without thinking anything through. So by stopping where you're at and reorienting yourself can help force you, or enable you rather, to figure out what's going on, what's the right decision to make. Do I need to move? Do I need to stop? What are the supplies and the resources that I have? What are the resources that I need? And more often than not, you know, when we're making decisions with a clear mind and we have all our mental capacity around us, we're going to make decisions that are a little bit gooder There's another word for your kit bag, and you can get stuck off going in the right direction. So let's figure out where we're gonna build this thing, and we'll go on it from there. All right, so I didn't have to move that far. I think this is gonna be about as level a piece of ground as I'm gonna find out here. So I'm gonna work out, and I'm gonna try to find a couple different stakes and sticks, and I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, so you see I got a little bit more than what I'm probably gonna need here, and I'll do this for a reason. So, all right, so this first stick I got, you know, I could have used it, truth be told, but it did have this little bend in it, and I wanted something that was a little bit longer, that was straighter. So I got this guy, and I'm gonna put a little finish up pointy end on this thing. And we need to take and stake this thing down. It didn't have to go in deep. It just needs to be steady enough with one of these other pieces here. And you want this as small and as fine as you can be. Again, you want to take away all the variables that you can. I'm going to find the center of the shadow, and I'm going to put it right in the ground. Now we just sit back and wait. All right, and while we're waiting on that, I figured, you know what, I need something for my mind to do. So I'm gonna sharpen up the old hatchet. I'm just gonna be using a puck for this. It's not necessarily my preferred method of sharpening my hatchets, but you know, it's what I have in my pack. It's part of my packing list. I also have a compass on my packing list, but that's neither here nor there. And you know, these pucks aren't bad. You know, they're good, palm sized. I'll leave a link down in the description below if you want to check one out. And so this particular one has 2 grits, you know, a little bit of a coarser, a little bit of a finer. It's not huge of a difference, but I'm gonna be breaking this puck in for the first time here, burn through my old one. And you know, one of the things when it comes to sharpening a hatchet, as opposed to sharpening, oh boy, yeah, I'll get you a close-up on this. This dude needs some work. I have neglected my hatchet. Is you always take your stone to that blade as opposed to the other way around. So if I was sharpening a knife, for example, you know, I'm going to take my knife to the stone, but when you're sharpening a hatchet or an axe, you're going to bring the stone to the blade. You can see all these dings and nicks in there. May have gotten their hands on my hatchet too. So when you're using a puck, you're just going to work in small circles. I'm already seeing a really good difference. I just want to work down, you know, this burr, this little spot I had here, and we'll get her as good as we can. Then we'll flip her over. There is a technique, you know, you can take a black magic marker and you can run that marker along the edge here, and that'll let you know about how far in on the blade that you're coming. But you know, it's not rocket science. And you know, I think a lot of people treat sharpening, whether it's knives or hatchets or axes, you know, like we're building planes or something, you know, and what we're doing is not going to make planes fall out of the sky if you make a mistake. But doing something like this is really good way to let your mind not become over anxious about your current situation. Now let's switch it over to the fine, I think. Oh yeah, man, she's definitely a lot sharper. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more heavy work on this when I take it back to the house, but start polishing it up. Oh, that is so much better. So much better. So it's been about 10, maybe 12 minutes, 13 minutes, something like that, since we got the stake in the ground. So we're gonna go double check it. We're gonna get another small stake in the ground, and then we'll go at it from there. Let's go take a look. So as you can see, the shadow has moved a little bit, not a whole terrible lot, but it doesn't take too much. So I'm gonna find the center of the shadow again. The longer you wait, the more that shadow is going to move. Now, although I could draw a straight line between these two, I really want to get at least 3 in on this to help make sure that I'm getting a true straight line. So we're going to give this at least another 15 or so minutes. May give her a little bit longer, just so we get a little bit longer of a line between these two. And then we'll see how she's doing. Let's get back to this axe. You know, and there will be a couple variables to being able to use the shadow tip method. And how reliable it's going to be. And you know, so up here in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State, you know, and the further north from the equator you get, the more accented what I'm about to say is gonna happen. So right now, you know, sunrise is probably coming up around 5:50. I'm starting to get some daybreak, and then in the evening, man, I got daylight all the way through, you know, probably 8:30 right now. And the further along we go, I'm probably going to end up having even a lot more daylight. And then in the wintertime, it's the exact opposite. So the sun might not come up until close to 8 o'clock, it seems sometimes. And then goes down all the way at like 4 o'clock. At least that's what it seems like. So, you know, how much daylight you have to be able to do this, but it doesn't really matter. You're still going to be able to get some cardinal direction. It will impact the angle of your shadow, but that should not impact giving you a cardinal direction. Because we're not looking for 14 degrees. We're not looking for 264 degrees. You know, we're looking for cardinal direction. So north, south, east, and west. Like I said earlier, Mount Rainier is to my east. Man, I'm looking at this right now. Mount Rainier is to my east, but it's not 90 degrees for me right now. And depending on where I'm at, it may be 120 degrees, it might be 60 degrees, but I know that it's due east. So if I just see Mount Rainier anywhere along the corridor from where I'm at, I know that I'm looking east. Same is true, you know, if you're looking north and maybe you're looking at Polaris, that's going to give you a true north, but it's not going to give you a magnetic direction. And I'll follow this up in the near future with a video on declination and magnetism, and we'll demystify some of these things. But you know, when it comes to using a shadow tip method, we're talking about a survival situation and being able to move in a direction. You know that you need to move southwest. Doing this will enable you to be able to do that. And where is it going to come in handy? It's going to come in handy if you have absolutely no terrain features around you. Maybe you're out in a wide open desert and you can't see anything in any direction. While you're out there, that's another story, but it will help out there. Actually, in the Pacific Northwest, even with things like Mount Rainier, it can still come in handy because, as you can see, man, we have some really tall stinking trees. Some of our Doug firs, our sequoias, and a lot of our other fir trees that we have out here are huge, man. You know, some of them are a couple 100 feet tall, and they can block out the ability to see all of our major terrain features. So if I can find my way to a clearing and I can have some shadow going on and I have some consistent sun, then and if you know you're going to be somewhere a little bit longer, you can get this going and you can turn it into a sundial so you can tell some time. So if you want to build a kick-ass base camp with a compass and a clock, man, you can do that all day long. So here's that hatchet, and get this refocused in here. You can see she's already looking a lot better, I do still have a little nick right here, and I got some shaping I need to do right here. I don't know if you can see that or not. and a little bit of shaping I'm going to do up here. But this thing is way sharper than where it was. It is, so I'm pretty happy being able to include this puck in my kit. I think it's pretty good. I have some other little tools in my kit bag in the garage, and I'll do another video on how I sharpen. I know I haven't sharpened this thing up in a while, but I have been using this thing for quite a bit. But I'll show you how a way to sharpen this thing up. And I think I got something else in my kit bag, and that's my little leather strap here. So, you know, a strap's not going to sharpen a blade, but it will help polish a blade. And do I need to strap my hatchet? If you have to ask that, then of course you don't have to, but yes, you have to, because it's awesome, that's why. It's just a little bit easier to feather some wood when you have a sharp stake. Let's go take a look at this and we'll see how she's doing. All right. Oh yeah, she's moving a little bit on us. Let's take a look at this. All right, with just a little bit of time, the shadow has moved a little bit more, so let's take a little closer look here. As we can see our shadow coming in here, and I'm gonna pop a stick right down in here, and that's going to give us our third line. So we have our original stake in the ground here that cast our shadow. We've marked off 3 points, and you need at a minimum 3 points to make sure that you have a straight line going. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a stick, and we're going to put it up against all 3 little stakes right there. Now this stick right here is exactly due east and west. It gives me an east and west line. And if I want, I can add to it, and I can put in another stick underneath it or on top, doesn't matter. That's perpendicular to this one, and that's going to give me a north-south line. So I got east, west, north, and south. And just to give you a little bit of orientation, so I got Mount Rainier right here. Of course, as I told you, Mount Rainier is to my east, and if I look down, I have my east-west stake that's running towards Rainier, right? Towards Rainier. All right, so there's a tool you can put in your kit bag so that you can figure out how to determine direction to get yourself out of a bad situation. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and we will keep this conversation rolling. And as always, until then, we'll see you.